to show you what that time is. Let's continue. As the crowd disperses and the disciples come and ask Jesus, explain this thing to us. Verse 36, then Jesus sent the multitude away and went into the house, and his disciples came unto him, saying, declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said unto them, he that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, and the tares are the children of the wicked one. So, brothers and sisters, what this tells us is that the tares that have been sowed inside the church, that have been planted inside the church, are the fruit of the seeds of the wicked ones. And that's the reason the Spirit of prophecy says that the church militant is not the church triumphant, because there are wheat and tares in the church, there's war in the church. And Satan is making war on God's church. Are you with me, brothers and sisters? That's the title of this series, War on God's Church. Back to verses 39, the Bible says, the enemy that sowed them is the devil, the harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of the world. So here we see, brothers and sisters, we see that Satan has systematically planted tares into God's church. God is planting wheat in there, but Satan has tried to confuse this thing and bring in tares. But a servant of the Lord will know the difference between a wheat and a tare. Now I'm going to go back to what we was reading in Ella Cruz's book. In anticipation of his last-ditch effort to make God's special remnant lose confidence in the law, would it not be logical for Satan to infiltrate the church with uncommitted pastors as well as unconverted members? So as Satan has brought the tares into the church, are they just pew members? No, 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 no. They are pastors. As a matter of fact, they are leaders among us. I'm going to get another book now. Now remember, we are studying. I'm going to get Testimonies, Volume 4, page 210 to 11. Testimonies, Volume 4, page 210 to 211. And I'm reading. Testimonies, Volume 4, page 210 to 11. I'm beginning to read now. You need to have that book in your hand. She says, the great heart of the work is at blank. And as the human heart throws its living current of blood into all parts of the body, so does the management of this place. The headquarters of our church affects the whole body of believers. If the physical heart is healthy, the blood that is sent from it through the system is also healthy. But if this foundation is impure, the whole organism becomes diseased by the poisoning of the vital fluids. I want you to understand what she's saying here. She's saying if the heart pumps good blood, every organ in the body will benefit by the good blood. The stomach, the lungs, the everything, the liver will benefit by the good blood. But if the heart pumps bad blood, then all of the organs will be affected by the bad blood. Then she says, the headquarters of our works affects the whole system. Let's continue. If the physical heart is healthy, the blood that is sent from it through the system is also healthy. But if this fountain is impure, the whole organism becomes diseased by the poisoning of the vital fluids. So it is with us. If the heart of the works becomes corrupt, the whole church in its various branches and interests scattered abroad over the face of the earth suffers in consequences. Get the point? If Satan can contaminate the heart of the work, the headquarters, then he can contaminate the whole church. Chief work is at the headquarters of our faith. Where is Satan's chief work? It is at the headquarters of our faith. He spares no pains to corrupt men in responsible positions and to persuade them to be unfaithful to their several trusts. He insinuates his suspicions and jealousies into the minds of those whose business it is to do God's work faithfully. While God is testing and proving these helpers, and fitting them for their posts, Satan is doing his utmost to deceive and allure them, that he may not only destroy them themselves, but may influence others to do wrong and to injure the great work. Now watch this, brothers and sisters. He seeks by all the means in his power to shake the confidence of God's people in the voice of warnings and reproofs through which God designs to purify the church and to prosper his cause. Are you hearing this, saints? Are you reading along with me? Let's look. Continuing, we're on page 211, second paragraph. It is Satan's plan to weaken the faith of God's people in the testimonies. In, my brothers and sisters, the testimonies. It is his plan to weaken God's people, their faith in the testimonies. Let me continue. It is Satan's plan to weaken the faith of God's people in the testimonies. Next, father skepticism in regard to the valid points of our faith. Now, I want you to understand something, brothers and sisters. The first thing Satan wants to do is to weaken our faith in the voice and the warning and reproofs contained in the testimony of God's Spirit. That's his first thing. He says, if I can get them to give up their belief in the testimonies, in the writings given to us through the servant Ellen G. White, he says, then I can get them to give up their faith in the valid points of our faith. Let me continue, saints. I'm going to read it again. It is Satan's plan to weaken the faith of God's people in the testimonies. Next, father skepticism in regard to the valid points of our faith. Well, what are some of the valid points of our faith? What are some of these valid points? Right off the bat, brothers and sisters, we know that the central point, the central pillar is the sanctuary. And from the sanctuary, all the rest of our pillars are emanated. So when we go back now to Revelation, it says he went to make war with those that keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. We know that the testimony of Jesus Christ is the gift of prophecy. So Satan says, first of all, I got to get them to give up their belief in the testimonies, in the spirit of prophecy. Then I can get them to give up their belief in the 2300-day prophecy. I can get them to give up belief in the sanctuary series. I can get them to give up their belief in the year-to-day principle. I can get them to give up their belief in the atonement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I can get them to give up their belief that you can overcome sin, brothers and sisters. Watch it. And I'm not just speaking off the top of my head. I'm speaking from facts. Next, father skepticism in regard to the valid points of our faith, the pillars of our position. Then doubt as to the Holy Scriptures. Would you think that a Seventh-day Adventist would ever give up belief in the Holy Scriptures? If you don't know that, you better hold on through this series, because you're going to be shocked beyond your imagination. Next, false skepticism in regard to the valid points of our faith, the pillars of our position. Then doubt as to the Holy Scriptures, and then the downward march to perdition. Listen to this, saints. When the testimonies which were once believed are doubted and given up, Satan knows the deceived ones will not stop at this, and he redoubles his efforts till he launches them into open rebellion, which becomes incurable and ends in destruction, brothers and sisters. Once he can get us to give up belief in the testimonies, he launches them into open rebellion, brothers and sisters, which becomes incurable. And that's the reason I say we have a crisis among us today. Because we have a constituency of people that call themselves Seventh-day Adventists and no longer believe in this. The very nerve to question this and call yourself a Seventh-day Adventist. The very nerve. The very nerve of a pastor to stand in the pulpit and look down on this to speak doubtful of this. Should not even be paid with the tithe. And I'm glad I can stand here in this media center and tell the truth and not have to worry about somebody censoring me. Are you hearing me, brothers and sisters? Let me continue. Continue with what Elder Cruz said. Would it not be logical for Satan to infiltrate the church with uncommitted pastors as well as unconverted members? When viewed in the context of the age-long warfare, it is easy to see how he would attempt such a long-range tactical ploy. In other words, this is a tactical ploy by Satan. Continue now. Because we live literally in the final stages of this tremendous drawn-out drama, we become grandstand spectators of Satan's total strategy. Did you hear that? Let me read it again. Because we live literally in the final stages of this tremendous drawn-out drama, we become grandstand spectators of Satan's